will get interest on it, so it will be overseas direct investment.
Okay, so if it's a regular business transactions, okay, if it's a regular business transactions, then it is overseas investment, as she said. But what happens is now, if the loans, if you're investing in shares of the company, then yes, if it is for your subsidiary, then it will be amount to an ODI. But if you're giving a loan, and if you're say paying any royalty, or if you're paying any vendor to your foreign company, all that would just amount to a regular business transactions. But if you're investing in capital, that is overseas direct investment. Now, scenario 2 is you ask. So you ask is nothing but company A asks company B to invest in shares of company C using funds given from India. Is this permitted? Would this be permitted?
No, ma'am.
No. Anyone else feels it is possible? Okay. So in this case, it is not possible. You cannot ask your foreign subsidiary or branch to invest in shares of another company, especially from what you have sent the branches. So you give company B a particular amount, and it needs to be utilized by company B. You cannot tell company B to use that to buy shares of company C. That is not possible. Okay, let me. Okay. A person resident in India shall not make any payment on behalf of any foreign entity other than by way of financial commitment as permitted by OI, that's Overseas Investment Rules and Regulations. Last class, I asked you all to find out what are the Overseas Direct Investment Rules and Regulations. Anybody read that? Anybody found out? Nobody? What are the regulatory frameworks for overseas direct investment? Okay, so a person resident in India shall not make any payment on behalf of any foreign entity other than by way of financial commitment. So you cannot any other payment other than financially. It is not called investment, and you cannot go against the rules and regulations of the OI. Any investment financial commitment in Nepal, Bhutan shall be done in a manner as provided in FEMA. So, though Nepal and Bhutan, they have special rules and regulations for FDI, there are some exemptions for them. For in overseas direct investment, whatever is mentioned in FEMA should be followed. That's what they've mentioned. Any doubt so far? Okay.
No.
Account abroad for making purpose of ODI. Now, ODI, you need a foreign bank account. So any Indian entity can maintain a foreign currency account. Now, foreign currency account is an account that you open in a foreign branch. Now, if it's HSBC, so if I go to US or if I go to Dubai and I open a foreign currency account in HSBC, that will become my foreign currency account. If I open then you have your Standard Chartered Bank again. That would be if I open it in Singapore, that will be a foreign currency account. So there are some companies that allow opening of a foreign currency account. So usually companies, they have an Indian account with the same bank, they will have a foreign currency account. Now, if I have my regular transactions with HSBC, I will prefer opening a foreign currency account with HSBC itself, so the transactions between the Indian bank and the foreign bank will be smooth. Now, obligations of a person resident in India. Now, if you are making ODI and if you are in India, what are your obligations is what is mentioned. A person resident in India acquiring equity capital in foreign entity, which is reckoned as ODI, shall submit evidence of investment to the AD bank within 6 months, failing which the funds remitted overseas shall be repatriated within the period of 6 months. Now, what happens is, so when you make an investment as overseas direct investment, you need to, so you will go through the authorized banker. So once the money goes in, you're using the money to invest in shares. So you will have to get the share certificate or get a proof that you hold investment, and you have to submit it to the AD bank within 6 months. Now, why they say 6 months? 6 months is the limit. So, if you do not submit proof of investment within 6 months, you will have to get back the money again within the period of 6 months. So, basically, if you're not allotted shares, the money should not stay in the foreign country. It has to be brought back to India, and the time limit you have is 6 months. Now, if you have a share certificate or if you've got a proof that you have been given the equity capital of the foreign entity, you will have to take that and submit it to the AD bank in India from where the funds have gone. The evidence of investment shall be retained by the designated AD bank, who shall monitor the receipt of documents and satisfy themselves about the bona fide of the documents so received. So basically, they will check whether the documents are genuine. They will check whether it's not fake documents, whether you're really invested in those shares. They will all check on the genuinity of the documents, and that's when they will accept it as evidence. If they feel that they are fake documents, they will send it back to you. They will question you. Form FC shall be submitted along with the requisite documents to the AD bank for obtaining UIN on or before making initial ODI. Okay, UIN is nothing but it is a number that is given for you for the transactions once you submit the FC documents. So you can submit the UIN number, you can mention it in the FC form, or once you submit the FC form, you will get the UIN number. The AD banker, after due verification, shall report the details in the OID application for allotment of UIN. So they will again check everything and they will give you the UIN number. Any remittance towards a foreign entity shall be facilitated by the AD bank only after obtaining the necessary UIN number for such entity. The allotment of UIN does not constitute an approval from the RBI for the investment made to be in the foreign entity. So obtaining an UIN number, it is not supposed to be assumed that it is an RBI approval. RBI approval will be a separate document where the RBI shall give, it's been approved. So UIN, anybody can apply for an UIN. It is not to be misunderstood for a RBI approval. The issue of UIN only signifies taking on record investment, maintaining the database. So basically, you can obtain an UIN and not make investment in overseas direct investment. That is possible. You can also, you can say after 5 years, you can make investment, or you don't have to make an investment at all. But obtaining a UIN number is nothing to do with you're not forced to make an investment abroad. Okay, any doubts so far?
Ma'am, is there any full form of UIN?
UIN is the unique identification number.
Okay, ma'am.
So that's a separate number that will identify you for if you want to make any future in foreign investments, you will have to mention that number and all your set of records that you've submitted, everything will come up. So it's basically to identify your company, like your SIN number in companies. Okay, then let's move ahead. Okay. Manner of making overseas direct investment by an Indian entity. Okay. I think we've done this. Subscription acquisitions. Okay. Now, how you can make direct and how you can make investment in direct investment in an overseas entity. You can make an equity shares. That's what we saw. Now, again, equity, how you can invest in is through subscription of memorandum, being a part of the MOA. Now, when we say subscription as a part of MOA, what does it mean? When I say subscription of shares in a memorandum of association of a company, what does that mean?
You become a member of the company.
So, if I want to invest now, would it be part of the memorandum of association?
Now, in the beginning, when the company is constituted.
Yes. So when the company is incorporated, you usually have a MOA. Have you all seen a memorandum of association?
Yes, ma'am.
Others, have you all seen a memorandum of association? What is the other document for the company?
Articles of association.
AOA, yes, Articles of Association. So have you all seen or do you all want to see one?
Want to see went through it in company. Oh.
Yes, it's there in the format is there. So usually an MOA AOA is what do you say? 1 second. Format is usually prescribed as per the Companies Act. You will have to mention whatever is there in the format in the Companies Act. So Companies Act, if you look at the schedules behind, you have balance sheet schedule, you have how a P&L is required, the CSR schedule, that you will find the memorandum and articles of association format also. Now, if you see many old companies wouldn't have converted their 1956 Companies Act MOA AOA to the 2013. That is perfectly all right. Some companies have converted it once to 2013 came in. They have converted all their sections. They have mentioned 2013 in the entire Articles of Association. Lifestyle has not done it. We've got all 1956. But whatever is there in the 2013 Act will be applicable. So this is how the Memorandum of Association will look. So first you have the certificate of incorporation, which is required to be attached. Then if you have changed any, if you've changed any location from, say, here, if you look at from Tamil Nadu, from Chennai, it is being shifted to Bangalore. So that letter, the shifting of company has also been attached. Then again, you have again the approval letter from Chennai to the certificate of registration is there. Then starts the MOA. So first is the memorandum of association, and then the articles of association comes in. So if you look at the format, it is exactly what is supposed to be there as per the Companies Act. So you have the main objects of the company. Now, main objects of the company. So if you look, company's name is there, the registration office, where is it there? Karnataka. And the objects. So objects is nothing but what does the company want to invest, what type of business they want to carry. So if you look at many of the companies, MOA or AOA, everything is, you'll have general. So in future, whenever you want to do anything, you can always say it's there in my memorandum, and you can do it. So you have lots. You have even if you want to open subsidiaries and open subsidiaries or open branches, that also should be in the in the objects. So this is the main part. A is always the main objects. That means what is the company want to do. Part B is objects incidental to the main object. Now, branches in India, agreements, having agreements, securities of land, buying property, all that will become secondary. So they've got how many points? They've got 41 points as secondary. So if anything and everything, you can look at the schedule. Everything would just be a copy paste of the Companies Act. Other objects which is not part of A and B, everything is there in part C. Now, again, if you have, that's the objects part, then you'll have to mention the liability is limited. The authorized share capital should be mentioned. Now, whenever you do an amendment, whenever you change, it is supposed to be put a star and you have to mention it. So that's what they've mentioned it. And this part is the initial people who have invested in the memorandum of shares. So first time when you're making an investment in shares of a company, your name will be there in the memorandum of association and articles of association. Now these two people are the first shareholders of the company. They have invested in the shares of the company at the time of incorporation. So you can't call them as promoters, because say in future, after 1 year, after 2 years, these people would have sold their shares and given it off to someone else. But when they say subscription to shares by a memorandum of association, this is what your name will appear in the last page of the memorandum of association. Again, when the company was incorporated, 20 shares, they have invested in 20 shares, and this on this particular day. Then will come the articles of association. Now, articles of association is nothing but whatever is there in the Companies Act, like your board of directors, your board of directors, how many members should be there, how many shareholders should be there, AGM, when is the AGM to be held, when the EGM is to be held, how many proxies or how many members should attend, all that as per Companies Act will be mentioned in the articles. So even in the articles of association, so see, you can see the share capital, voting rights, transmission of shares. If it's not there, if it's not approved in your articles, you cannot transfer shares of the company. So that also has to be mentioned. Then if you look at the end, again, dividend, if dividend is not there in your articles, you cannot pay dividend. And then even in the end of your articles of association also, you do have a subscription page. Who has subscribed will be mentioned. So basically this is nothing but it is a subscription of shares at the time of incorporation. Any doubts? Shares in overseas direct investment by investing in their memorandum of association, your name will be mentioned. That is possible. Acquisition through bidding or tender process. If they have a bidding or tender process for their shares and you apply to it, that is called overseas direct investment. Acquisition of equity capital by way of rights issue or allotment of bonus shares. Again, if you are already shareholders and then they issue rights issue for you or they issue bonus shares, that will amount to an overseas direct investment, because it is further capital that has been bonus. You are not paying anything, but in the case of rights issue, you are sending money out of the country. In bonus shares, you are getting dividend into the country, so your number of shares should be increased. A capitalization within the time limit, if any, specified for realization under the Act of any amount due towards the Indian entity from the foreign entity. The remittance which is permitted under the Act does not require prior permission of the government approval. Okay. Capitalization is nothing but if you capitalize your say a building or some property or something. They, instead of paying the amount, they kind of give you shares. That is also an overseas direct investment. Swap of securities. If an Indian entity says, I will give you 1:1, you give me foreign company shares, I'll give you Indian company shares. If that agreement has been done, it is also overseas direct investment. Merger, demerger, amalgamation, or any scheme of arrangement as per the applicable laws in India. So I'm sure you all know what a merger, demerger is, what is an amalgamation is. So whenever there is a merger, demerger, amalgamation, and if you hold shares in a different foreign entity, and because of a merger or a demerger, you get extra shares from another foreign company, then it also amounts to overseas direct investment. Any doubts?
Can you
Yes.
just explain the meaning of amalgamation?
See, amalgamation, when two companies join together, is amalgamation. It is similar of a merger. You will learn the details in restructuring when you're reading Companies Act. So basically, there is a major difference between merger and amalgamation, but details you'll learn it in Companies Act. So don't get confused now. So merger, amalgamation, merger, demerger, amalgamation, and any scheme of arrangement. So all those three are something to do with two foreign companies abroad. Merger is two companies joining together. Amalgamation is also two companies joining together. Merger, basically, the difference between merger and amalgamation is something to do with the business, type of business. Demerger is when you are letting go of one unit of the company into another company. That's a demerger. Scheme of arrangement is also something like a demerger. So you will know the details, much in details in Companies Act. What is the main difference? All of that. Okay, ODI in financial services activity. Now, if you are a financial entity and you're making an investment in the foreign financial institute, you have certain regulations that ODI has mentioned. An Indian entity engaged in financial services activity in India. We'll give an example of, say, HDFC. May make ODI in a foreign entity, which is directly or indirectly engaged in financial service activity. Now, if HDFC wants to make an investment in another company, say company A, and company A is into financial services, they can make the investment. If it is not into financial services also, they can make the investment. So they have an option of to make a foreign direct investment in a financial activity company or a normal company. That is possible. An Indian entity has posted net, so only they can do it if the following conditions, three conditions have been met. An Indian entity has posted net profits during the preceding 3 years. Preceding 3 years is back 3 years, not the current year, but preceding 3 years, they should have posted a net profit. That's when you can make the investment. Then an Indian entity is registered with or regulated by a financial services regulator in India. So again, the Indian entity should have been registered, as if HDFC should register itself as a financial services regulator. That's when they can make the investment. The Indian entity has obtained approval as may be required from the regulators of such financial services activity, both in India and the host country hold jurisdiction for engaging such financial services. You will also have to take regular required approvals from, say, RBI, Government of India approval is required. That's Indian one. Now the foreign country also will have certain rules and regulations. So if you need any approval from the foreign country, you will also have to obtain such rules and regulations, such permissions, if it is required from the foreign country. An entity, okay, so those are the three conditions that is required for obtaining your if you want to make if a financial services want to make an investment. Now, an Indian entity not engaged in financial services activity in India may make ODI in financial entity which is directly, indirectly engaged in financial services activity, except banking or insurance, subject to the condition that such Indian entity has posted a net profits during the preceding 3 financial years. Now, I am an Indian company. I am not engaged in any financial services. So I'm say company A. I do a business of say manufacturing. Now I want to invest in a foreign financial services activity company. Now, when I say financial services company, what companies are financial services companies? What type of companies come under financial services?
NBFCs.
I didn't get you.
NBFC.
Okay, yes, NBFCs. What else? Some more examples. Anybody? Financial services company. Nobody? Only one person is answering.
Investment banking company.
Investment company, yes. Raja, you were saying something?
Investment banking companies.
Investment banking companies, yes. So, can you all give me some examples? Would JP Morgan, Chase and Co. is that a financial services company? Can we call that as financial services company?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What about that's one example of a financial services company. What about Bajaj Finance? Would that be a financial services?
Yes, that all come under
That will come under?
NBFCs.
Yes, but we are looking at financial services. So yes, that is financial services.
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, yes. Then you have your Bajaj Alliance. That also
Company registered under RBI can do.
yes. So any company who is handling financial activities. Now you have your companies like your Aditya Birla Finance Limited, who gives you loans, who takes your Muthoot Finance. All that are financial services companies in India. Now, some of these companies have got financial services activities abroad, like your JP Morgan Chase, like your American Express, your Barclays, Bank of America. Now, all these companies do have. Yes, Manu, you have any doubt?
Tata Capital.
Yes, Tata Capital also. It is an Indian financial company. Yes. So you have all these companies like your Bank of America, your JP Morgan and Chase, all that have got foreign. In India, they're only branches. You know that. So in foreign, say in the US, it's where their headquarters are, and they will have multiple branches, subsidiaries everywhere around the world. And if you are an entity who want to make investment in such kind of a company which is into financial services, you need to have a net profit of during the preceding 3 years. So basically, you can invest except for banking or insurance. So basically, you can't invest in an HSBC bank. You can't invest in a Bank of America banking unit, or you can't invest into the insurance unit like your Bajaj Alliance like that. But if it's anything other than banking and insurance, you can invest in. You just need to have a net profit in the preceding 3 years. Now, provided that the Indian entity not engaged in the insurance sector make ODI in general and health insurance, where such insurance business is supporting the core activity undertaken overseas by such Indian entity. So if the Indian entity is not into insurance sector or general and health, you can invest in. That will be considered as a overseas direct investment. Okay, ODI by a registered trust or society. Anybody's got any doubt till now?
Ma'am, can SBI or like Bank of India, that banks will not come under this?
See, SBI and all, they have only branches abroad. Now, SBI making an investment in their branch abroad will be an ODI investment, not in shares, but it will be as a regular business activity. And so, if an Indian entity, if I'm a manufacturing company, if I want to make an investment in JP Morgan and Chase, I can do it. It's a foreign financial transaction. Now, SBI in India, HSBC in India can make an HSBC transaction abroad. SBI, if they are investing in a foreign banking transaction or foreign branch, a different bank, say, I'm just giving you an example, SBI wants to invest in Bank of America, that will be possible, like that. Any entity in India can make investment abroad. Overseas direct investment by a registered trust or society. Any person being a registered trust or registered society engaged in educational sector or which has set up hospitals in India may make overseas direct investment in a foreign entity with prior approval of the RBI, subject to the following conditions. Now, if you are into educational sector or if you have set up hospitals, now usually if you look at banks, if you look at educational institutes or if you look at hospitals, they all are run by educational trusts or societies. So if you look at what examples are there for hospital, there's one in CMH Road. No, that's CMH Hospital, CMH Trust of India, something will be mentioned, right? So educational institutes are society plus all of them can make foreign direct investment in foreign entity with the prior approval from RBI. That is possible. Now, there are certain conditions. The foreign entity is engaged in the same sector that the Indian trust or society is engaged in. So, someone give me one example of a trust or a registered society which is engaged in educational sector or hospital. No, Manipal is a company.
Chinmaya Mission Hospital.
Yes, Chinmaya Mission. I was just looking at that. Chinmaya Mission Hospital is one example. Now, what if Chinmaya Mission Hospital, that's CMH, they want to make, so they are into hospitals in India. Now, if Chinmaya Mission Hospital wants to make an foreign ODI, they will have to make an investment in the same sector. So they are into hospitality, hospitals, setting up of hospitals. They will have to invest in similar kind of companies abroad. They mentioned entity, so it can be a company also. So you can invest in CMH can invest in similar kind of activity set company abroad. The trust or society, as a case may be, should be existent for the last 3 years before the year in which such investment is being made. So if I want to make the investment today, I should have been in existence for the last 3 years. The trust deed, in case of a trust, and the MOA or rules, bylaws, society shall be permitted proposal of ODI. I showed you all the articles of association and the memorandum of association. So ODI should have been mentioned, saying that this particular trust, this particular society can make foreign direct investment. So that should have been mentioned in the memorandum of association. Like I showed you all that you can do so many activities. You can open branches, open subsidiaries abroad. Like this, overseas direct investment should also be mentioned. Such investment approval must have have the approval of the trustees in case of the trust, and the governing body's council or managing or executive committee in case of society. Again, like the company has got a board, in a trust or a society, it is trustees and governing body or council. So you need to have their approval. So basically, like how you have a resolution, a board resolution for companies, like that, you will have an approval. There will be an approval if it is in case of a trust or a society also. In case of a trust or society, requires special license or permission either from the Ministry of Home Affairs, central government, or from relevant local authority, as the case may be. The special license permission must be submitted to the designated AD banks. So sometimes these trust or societies would require, they would, in India, if you want to open a company, if you want to open a trust or a society, you need special permissions. You need certain, approvals from, say, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Ministry of Home Affairs, all of that. So you need to submit all these kind of permissions to the AD bank. So all this would have been required at the time of when they opened their trust or society. Like how we obtain a certificate of incorporation for a company, like a trust and society, they will also require certain permissions. So those documents also should be submitted to the AD bank. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let's move ahead. Restriction on acquisition or transfer of immovable property outside India. 1 second. Just 1 minute. There are certain. There are certain restrictions and prohibitions in ODI. What activities? What type of activities you cannot make an overseas direct investment in? Before we go ahead with this particular topic, what are the activities that are prohibited under ODI? The government will not approve for such investment.
Defense.
Defense, not mentioned. The list does not have it. Something else? Yes, if you're making an investment in gambling, it's not allowed. Next. Crypto investment. Okay, I won't call it crypto investment, but anything to do with Indian rupee financial activity, you cannot invest. Okay, and the other point is real estate activity. Now, real estate activity is nothing but buying and selling of real estate property. If you're making an investment in such a company, it is not allowed. As people said, gambling, not allowed. You cannot make an ODI investment in gambling. And dealing in financial products linked with Indian rupee is not allowed. Now, all these, we saw certain reporting that's required for ODI. Now, all these reportings, if you do not report it within the time limit, you will have to pay a late fee. If you don't pay the late fee, and if you don't pay the interest, if the next time you make if you want to make an investment, next ODI investment. Okay. Next is a restriction on acquisitions or transfer of any immovable property outside India. A person resident in India shall not acquire or transfer any immovable property situated outside India without general or special permission of the RBI. However, the following property is excluded. Now, if you have if I want to buy a property abroad, I want to buy a property in US, or if I want to buy a property in Malaysia, Singapore, I need to take permission of the RBI, whether it is general or special permission based on the situation of what I want to invest in, I will have to take permission from the RBI. Now, if I'm A, B, and C, I do not have to take RBI approval. Now, held by a person resident in India who is a national of a foreign state. Now, if I am from Singapore, I am a Singapore citizen. I'm living in India. I want to buy a property in Dubai. Then I do not have to take RBI approval because I'm a Singapore citizen. Acquired by a person resident in India on or before 8th July 1947 and continued to be held by such person with the permission of RBI. Now, if I have bought a property before 1947, I do not require RBI. I do not require any approval from RBI. Acquired by a person resident in India on a lease not exceeding 5 years. So, if I'm taking a property on lease, now lease is mostly for companies. Now, if I'm giving an example of, say, my company A in Bangalore wants to take a property to open a branch account in Malaysia, then the lease, I will enter into a building lease for 5 years. So that time I do not have to take permission of RBI. But if it's more than 5 years, I'll have to take a permission of RBI. So if it's a lease, I do not require to take permission from RBI. A person resident in India may acquire immovable property outside India by way of inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but someone's given you those properties by someone's dead by will if you have received such property, or gift or purchase from a person resident in India who has acquired such property as per foreign exchange provisions in force. So if it is goods, purchase, anything, if living in India, someone else has a property abroad, I can buy the property from the person. That is also possible. It needs to be as per the requirements of FEMA. A person resident in India may acquire immovable property outside India from a person resident outside India by way of inheritance. Again, as I said, by way of will, if a foreigner has written, or if an NRI has written property in your name. For example, say if my father is living in the US, he has a property, he has a green card holder, he has his property in US, he writes a will saying the property in US is mine. The property in US is Apurva's. So I, being in India, I can hold the US property. I have received it by way of inheritance. So I can receive that property which is sitting in US. By way of purchase out of foreign exchange held in RFC account. Now, if I have an RFC account, then what is an RFC account? Anybody? What is an RFC account? What is full form of RFC account? Anyone?
Resident foreign currency account.
A resident foreign currency account, yes. So, say if I've been living abroad for the last 10 years and then I came to India. So, I was living abroad for last 10 years. I have a foreign stay in the US. And then I have left everything and I've come to India. But I still have funds in my RFC account. I can use that funds to buy a property in the US. By way of purchase of remittance sent by under the liberalization remittance scheme instituted by the Reserve Bank of India. We have seen what that scheme is, what conditions those scheme has. So if you're buying anything out of this particular scheme, it is possible. Jointly with the relative who is a person resident outside India. Now, I am in India. Say my sister is in Singapore, and both of us want to buy a property in Malaysia. That is possible. Out of the income or sale proceeds of the assets other than ODI acquired overseas under provisions of the Act. Now, why do they say other than overseas direct investment? When you're making an overseas direct investment, you are telling the government that I'm making an investment and the money is going to come back. And overseas direct investment is mainly into equity. So, proceeds of the asset. So I can't use my dividend, whatever I receive from overseas direct investment, to buy property abroad. So whatever, if I'm selling any other property abroad, if I'm selling any property abroad, I can use that money to buy another property in abroad only. I cannot use any investment purpose interest or dividend to buy any assets abroad. Any doubts? Anybody's got any doubts?
No.
Okay. So let's move ahead. An Indian entity having an overseas office may acquire immovable property outside India for the business and residential purposes of its staff as per the directions issued by the Reserve Bank from time to time. So if I have a branch office in, say, Malaysia, if I have a branch office in Malaysia, I can acquire immovable property for the office space. I can get property, and in case if I want to buy property for my staff, I can also invest in overseas direct investment. In the immovable property. A person resident in India who has acquired any immovable property outside India in accordance with the foreign exchange provision in force at the time of such acquisitions may transfer such property by way of gift to a resident in India who is eligible to acquire such property under these rules by way of shares. Create a charge on such property in accordance with the Act or the rules and regulations made thereunder issued by the RBI from time to time. Now, I've already bought immovable property. I can transfer that by way of gift, or I can put it for charge as a charge also. You all know what is a charge? Can someone in short explain what is a charge?
Control of property.
Taking control of property, no. No. Anybody else? What is
Creating a mortgage.
You're right. Yes. Mortgage. It's okay. Again, definitions of what is a mortgage and all that is different, but something of what you've said. So, usually companies, whenever they take a bank loan, they create a charge on the property fixed assets. They create a charge on fixed assets. They create a charge on fixed assets, on their immovable property. They also create a charge on plant and machinery. They create a charge on the receivables. Receivables is nothing that whatever business you've done and you need to get money for you've created a product and you're getting paid for that. They create a charge with the bank for that also. So you will study in Companies Act that whenever you create a charge, you enter into a deed of hypothecation with the bank. So basically you're telling the bank that all these properties, I am giving it to you. It is yours, but I will still use it. But in case if I do not repay the loan, then you can sell off that property and you can get back your money. Now, when you do such a deed of hypothecation, you enter into a charge document. So you will have to get it stamped, get it notarized, create a stamp duty for that. You will also have to file certain forms with the ROC, charge forms with the ROC. Once you pay off the loan, then satisfaction of charge you'll have to file with the ROC. I'm not sure if you all know about what's his name? Vijay Mallya's case. So his assets, there were many bankers who were trying to sell off his property. You all know his case?
Yes, sir.
So there were not one bank, there were multiple banks, 2-3 banks who was trying to, ICICI Bank, State Bank of India, all these banks were trying to sell off the property. Now, you might wonder why so many banks are behind. How can you create charge with multiple banks? Creation of charge with multiple banks is possible, and at the time of bankruptcy or something, what happens is all these bankers will hold a right. Now whoever you've taken a more loan, if I've taken 100 crores loan from ICICI Bank, I've taken 50 crores loan from SBI. So ICICI Bank will have the first charge on assets. So they will have the right of selling all my property, whatever I've charged with mortgage with them, fixed assets, immovable property. First, ICICI Bank will take the 100 crores with interest. The remaining will go to SBI. So if SBI gets 50 crores, okay, if they get only 30 crores, they'll have to be happy with the 30 crores. That's what a charge is. So when you're taking a charge from one bank, you will take a charge from multiple banks. So every bank you will have to inform where all the charge has been created, how many banks hold that charge. So I will have to tell SBI that see, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, everybody has got a charge on the property. You also have a charge on the property. So I'll have to give that declaration saying who all has charge on the property. So that's called a charge. So basically, it's a deed of hypothecation for a loan that the company takes. Any holding of any investment in immovable property or transfer thereof shall not be permitted if the initial investment in immovable property was not permitted under the foreign exchange management. So if there are certain transactions which have been restricted by the FEMA, if the initial transaction was not allowed, multiple other transactions also will not be allowed. So if the property was not allowed, say 10 years back or 15 years back when you're buying the property, current also it will not be allowed by FEMA. Any doubts? We are done with ODI. We have completed the subject. So do you all have any doubts in overseas direct investment?
One doubt, but you gave example of Vijay Mallya, right?
Yes.
If a small bank like NBFC having his total capital itself like 10 crores, that gave Vijay Mallya loan as 8 crores. And it was in a list of last 10 banks are there. Like first the ICICI, and in the list of 10 it was there, NBFC. What he cannot, NBFC company cannot file first for getting money back.
No, see when
Money he gave to Vijay Mallya.
See again,
If the
for a charge creation, whoever is given more money, whoever has created in the concept of charges, I'm telling. So you have various other types where an NBFC can approach the NCLT and all to get money. So usually when bankruptcy happens, you will have to file a case in the NCLT. So in the NCLT, that concept is different. But for a charge, whoever's given more highest loan, they will be responsible of selling for the other rest of the 10. But whereas if it is a case, this is a charge. So basically, charged is something that if you have not paid the loan, and then say you've not paid the loan you've not paid the interest for say 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, that time they'll have certain time limit saying, okay, this company has not been giving me interest for the last 5 years, let's sell off the property, whatever we have. That time, that is a charge. So the company might be doing well. I just gave an example. In the case of Vijay Mallya, his is a bankruptcy case. So that will be held by NCLT. Now, NCLT, how they approach it, whether NCLT might tell, let's give the NBFCs first, or let equal ratio, all the banks get equal ratio, let all the banks get 5 crores each, like that. The NCLT can announce also, that is possible. But in a charge creation, when the company has got business, not been able to pay the loan, that time whoever is held more money, that company will sell the property first. Hope that clarifies your doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else has got any doubt?
So the charge is kind of auctioning or anything, right? Like
In future, if you have not paid, if my company has not paid a loan, and if it goes to the extent of the charge getting realized, then it will be sold by auction. Yes.
it's just like acquiring the properties.
Yes. So okay. So a simple example is if you have taken a home loan, and if you have not paid your EMI in 3 months, if you have not paid EMI in 3 months, so the loan papers are anyways with the bank, right? You don't have the loan papers. Loan papers are with the bank. So what does the bank do? The bank will tell, okay, you've not paid EMIs for the last say 5 months. You've not paid EMI for the last 5 months. You will not. I don't think you will. They'll keep giving you reminders. If you don't reply to the reminders, also what they'll do is they will auction your house, saying that okay, this house is there. They have not paid EMI. Current market value is this much. Who wants to take it? So what the bank will do? The bank will auction the house. How much ever the bank requires, that's the EMI, interest plus principal. They'll take that amount. If the property is sold for 2 crores, but the loan was taken only for 1 crore, they'll take 1 crore, and the remaining 1 crore will be given to the owners of the house. So saying that, see, you didn't pay me. I've sold your house. I've auctioned your house. I got 1 crore extra. You keep it. That's what they'll do.
Okay.
Anybody else?